What's up, everyone? This is Robert Roof with the JR Group with a brand new interview for you about one of our local veteran-owned businesses right here in Clarksville, Tennessee. Today, I had the opportunity to sit down and talk with Rich Holladay. Rich is a retired U.S. Army Command Sergeant Major with over 22 years of service, including combat deployments to Iraq and Afghanistan. In our conversation, Rich shares what life was like in the military, the challenges of transitioning into the civilian life, and how he went on to co-found Waterdogs, Scuba, and Safety here in Clarksville. We also discuss what it takes to become a certified diver and the impact that Scuba can have on veterans, families, and our community. I hope you enjoy the interview, and I hope you have a great day. But I do appreciate you doing this.
No, I'm happy to be here, man. This is, I've always, felt akin to you anyway, man. And the fact that you do stuff like this, I think this is the most productive type of things we do for our veteran community is just talk and tell stories, especially when people are transitioning out of the service.
Yeah.
Then they see that, I think the most important thing is when people first get out of the service, they think they have a plan.
Oh, yeah.
Because the service gives you so much, you know exactly what you're going to be doing for the most part. But I think people try to carry that a lot of times. I know I did when I got out of the service. Try to carry that okay, this is my plan, and then learning that the plan, you don't have to follow that plan.
Right.
For the first time in my life, I can make my own plan, and a lot of times.
Yeah, it's hard to figure that out.
And adjust. I think that's the biggest thing, and I think that gives a lot of people stress and maybe feels overwhelming at stuff or at times, but really it's a joy to have that flexibility.
You just don't know how to deal with it initially. Yeah. All right. I'm gonna give a quick little bio.
Okay.
Tell me what I get right, what I get wrong.
Okay.
So it's all good. It's all internet based. Okay, so we're talking with Rich Holladay of Clarksville, Tennessee. Rich is a retired Command Sergeant Major with over 22 years of service in the U.S. Army, including combat deployments to both Iraq and Afghanistan. Over the course of his career, he held key leadership roles such as Operations Sergeant Major, Senior Advisor to Iraqi military commanders, and Command Sergeant Major at Fort Campbell. After retiring from the Army, Rich continued to serve his community in new ways as co-owner of Waterdogs, Scuba, and Safety, as a military affairs representative with USAA, an adjunct professor at Austin Peay State University, and as executive director of Leadership Clarksville. His journey blends military service, entrepreneurship, education, and community leadership.
Well, that's pretty good and probably too kind, Robert.
That's not too kind. You should be proud of everything that you've done.
Oh, well, I'm proud of the people that I was able to work with along the way. What I think's great about that time in service in the military, you develop lifelong relationships.
Very much so.
I just heard from a soldier of mine this morning who, somewhat against his will, he was trying to retire, and the Army said no, and they're sending him to Fort Campbell one more time.
Oh, wow.
And but being able to reach out and connect him with various things in the community is great. So what the conversation started as, he was a little bit sad. By the time the conversation was over, he was excited about coming to Fort Campbell.
That's cool.
Which you should be.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, Campbell was my final destination.
Yeah.
So it was pretty cool. All right, so tell me where you're from. Tell me about wife, kids, grandkids.
Oh, great.
And then tell me how what made that decision to join the military.
So I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina. Funny enough, I was born and raised in the same house outside Charlotte in a rural area.
We're from very close together. I'm from Columbia, South Carolina.
Oh, yeah, man. Yeah, my wife was born in Columbia.
Oh, we used to go to Blockbuster Pavilion all the time for concerts.
Yeah. That's right. That's right. We both grew up in Charlotte. We met in high school. We were high school sweethearts, and then I graduated in 1988 and went off to college at Appalachian State University. And then in 1990, Saddam Hussein invaded Kuwait.
Okay.
And it kind of felt like I was pretty aimless at college. I was doing okay, probably right under a 3.0 GPA. It was okay, but I was getting to the end of my sophomore year. I had no idea really what I wanted to major in.
Right.
So this happened and coming from a long line of veterans. My father was a World War II veteran. My
Okay.
grandfather was a World War I veteran. His grandfather was a Civil War veteran. His grandfather was our great grandfather was a Revolutionary War veteran.
Really?
So it just seemed like, now that's, that sounds like there's this huge military, but it wasn't really something.
Was it expected, you think, or?
No, I don't know why it happened. I mean, my family's patriotic, but not like, it's not, because I was the first one that made it a career.
Okay.
In fact, my father he joined the Navy during World War II so he could leave high school early. You could leave your first semester your senior year if you joined the service. So he did that so he could join, and then he got out right after the end of World War II. And my grandfather was drafted into World War I, so it wasn't anything he felt a big draw to go do it. But it was funny, he was an infantryman in the trenches in World War I. But we've got a lot of his journals and stuff.
I can only imagine.
Well, the first chance he got to get out of those trenches, he took it.
Well, it's terrifying.
Yeah, it was. And he did not, nobody in my family likes being extremely dirty. So, my father said, I asked him why he joined the Navy. Mm-hmm. He said, well, we would go to the theaters when I was in high school and we'd see the military shorts. And the Army and the Marines, those guys always look filthy. But the Navy guys always look clean. And so I figured, hey, I'll go and do this. And at least if I'm in the Navy, I'll be around water and I can be clean. So, when I joined the service in 90, I guess you always go in there idealistic. And, I wanted the full infantry experience, airborne and ranger and all of that. And, he didn't. For him, he was like, hey, good for you, you'll learn. And he was right. He was right. So my parents were supportive of it because they knew I was didn't really have a direction.
Okay.
So I joined the Army in 90, figured I'd go in for 4 years.
Me too.
This was the war of my generation. So figured I'd go in for 4 years, get back out, finish college.
What were you studying in college?
Well, that's general education.
Oh, you were just taking classes.
Yeah, because I had just finished basically general education, but really didn't know what direction I wanted to go. Okay. So this was an opportunity to do that. So got out, and my first duty station was Fort Polk, Louisiana, before it was like JRTC, when it used to be an infantry division, 5th Infantry Division there. And I did that, did not enjoy it too much. I just didn't enjoy it too much. And then I came down on orders for Korea. And I remember standing in the back of the company orderly room, and the training NCO came out and said, hey, Holladay, you're going to Korea. And I dropped to my knees and said, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, now, I was so happy.
Were you and Shelly married at the time?
No, not at the time.
So she was still back in Charlotte?
She was still back in Charlotte.
In college, or?
Yeah, so she went to Western Carolina, which is in Western North Carolina. And when all this happened, that's where she was at in college. And I came down on orders for Korea, and Shelly jokes that I married her because I was going to Korea, but that is not the case. I was always going to marry Shelly. There was no doubt in my mind. I saw...
so when the family separation pay?
No. It was not anything like that. I just knew... while every relationship has its ups and downs, I knew that's where my heart was with her. So we got married as I PCS'd towards Korea. Okay. And then Shelly, being who Shelly is, she said, well, I'm coming with you. I said, babe, there's no command-sponsored tours, especially where I was going, up in the Western Corridor. I said, they don't have things for family. Right. And she said, I don't care. So she got a visa, and she brought herself over there, and we lived in Korea together, which surprisingly, even up at Camp Casey where I was, there was a pretty large dependent community of people that came over, and we lived on a little spot outside Camp Casey called American Alley. It was basically small Korean apartments. And we lived there, and she was there for about 6 months, and we had this plan that we were going to, we knew probably we would have children in a few years. Well, going to Korea kind of fast forwarded that plan a little bit, and Shelly left Korea The about 9 months after she got there, or about 6 months after she got there, because she was pregnant with our son, and she came back to the U.S. and then I PCS'd. Really, the thought was when I was leaving Korea, especially with the baby on the way, that I would go back to the States and just finish my 4-year tour and then get out. But I PCS'd back to Fort Campbell. And I think Fort Campbell offered, with the history of the 101st and just the general atmosphere and the leadership environment that was at Fort Campbell compared to the other duty stations I've been to in the 101st, was really what I thought the Army was going to be like, and really why I joined. So I fell in love with it, and Shelly and I decided together that we would go ahead and maybe not make it a career at that point, but I would re-enlist and stay one more tour, and see what I thought. And at that point, when I got back to Fort Campbell, I began, leadership roles, and it just seemed to fit, and I seemed to thrive, and it was good for me. The challenges, the opportunities, working with soldiers, and that's my favorite thing, was working with soldiers, American soldiers, and why I stayed that route of maintaining different, conventional, regular Army units, because I loved working with young soldiers and seeing them thrive. And luckily enough for me, it was successful as a career. And what I kind of live by is, if you take care of your soldiers, they're going to take care of you. And in my case, it really worked. And so any success I had was due to the outcome and the positive things that my soldiers did.
Excellent.
So I was really blessed, and stayed in the Army, Fort Campbell, and then I went to be a drill sergeant at Fort Benning. Was blessed to be able to go and serve with the 501st, first of the 501st Airborne out of Fort Richardson, Alaska, and that's where I started as a platoon sergeant.
I was 501.
Yeah, I loved it up there, man. I loved it up there.
That's where we were before we got here.
Oh, that must have been a great assignment.
We jumped Big Lake.
Yeah.
And we jumped, not Malumet, it's the other one, Geronimo
DZ.
And we were trying to jump north of the Arctic Circle.
Yeah.
Because my battalion commander at the time said those are the 3 jumps you can never get in Alaska: is a water, a Geronimo, and a north of the Arctic Circle.
Yeah.
And so it was his mission to get that. We got 2 of the 3.
Yeah.
And I'd never done a water jump before, and so we had to do the wet silk training.
Yeah.
That was terrible.
Yeah, I bet it was.
Oh, it was terrible, because
yeah,
instead of it like being the parachute floating on top, they submerged it.
Yeah.
And then you had to go through and whatnot, and there were so many people that almost drowned on that experience just in the pool.
Did they have divers underwater with you?
No.
Oh, boy.
No, they had you and a bunch of dudes along the parachute in the water, and that was it. And so if you didn't do that knife hand, you just came up and it stuck to your face, and you're like, well, that was terrible. Yeah. I'm just going to swim completely under it.
Yeah.
So I know we're actually going back to Alaska next June.
Just to visit, or are you moving there?
No, we're not moving. I am not the Alaska person. My son and my daughter love it. Yeah. My wife and I, we are Southern to our core.
Yeah.
Like
well,
100%.
So in the case of, in fact, I got there on September 1st, 2001.
Okay.
And I was getting ready to do our first unit jump, was into a training exercise on September 11th, 2001. And then obviously everything happened on September 11th.
Right.
And so, all aircraft, all air movement was stopped. So that jump was pushed 2 months later into November. And then when we jumped, it was 60 degrees below zero when we jumped out of the aircraft. So that was a different experience.
That's terrible.
Yeah, it was something. It was something unforgettable.
Were they still making us jump where you either aviator gloves or no gloves at all?
Oh yeah, the contact gloves.
Yep.
So at that time they had, I guess there were Nomex gloves out there, but they were called contact gloves, and they're real similar to that.
Right.
And on that jump, in fact, one of my NCOs hit the ground and was pulling his radio out, and he pulled his contact glove up just to turn it on, and touched the metal, and it instantly turned black.
Jeez.
Up to there. Yeah, so it was that kind of cold, But I will tell you that we loved it. We did not stay past, we were there for a 3-year tour. We ended up being there about 3.5 because of deployment.
Right.
Because we ended up going, the battalion deployed to Afghanistan in 2003. So for me, I never made it. I was never there. I was deployed always on the summers. So I missed a lot of the beautiful Alaska summers. And when we got done, considered staying on board there because at that time is when it was part of the 172nd Infantry Brigade separate, which was going to become 4th Brigade, 25th. And we were thinking about staying for that, but my wife had enough of the 9-month winters. So
yes.
We left there, came back to Fort Polk, where I worked at JRTC as an observer controller, and then I was a first sergeant in Geronimo for a couple of years, and then went back to the Army at Fort Bliss, attended the Sergeant Major's Academy later when I was at Fort Bliss, and then I had another one of those, thankful moments when I was in the academy and they released assignments bringing me back to Fort Campbell, which when I left Fort Campbell in 1996, I had always in the back of my mind, man, I'd really like to get back to Fort Campbell because I just loved it. And I love Clarksville, the community.
My whole career, everybody always said, Campbell, you either love or hate it. And most people I ever ran into was, I love Fort Campbell. I love the 101st. I love the lineage. I love the chain of command style. I love the layout, the centrally located, everything. I mean, I always heard Fort Campbell was, a great place to be. And we didn't get to experience it until our last 18 months because we started at Drum, then Bragg, then Benning, then Alaska, and then finally here at Austin P. And then my last 18 months, we finished up at Campbell. But that's how we ended up here because when we were coming from Alaska, we told our kids, hey, if you want to finish high school here, I'll figure it out. You guys can definitely stay here. If I have to go somewhere, that's fine, but we'll stay here so y'all can finally build that core of friends and whatnot.
Right.
Which is, having military brats, they're restarting friendships everywhere they go.
Yeah, I mentioned my son who was born right after Korea. We had a daughter also that was born while I was a drill sergeant on the trail at Fort Benning. And, both of them have been the light of our life. And when we did make it back to Fort Campbell, I was on a assignment after my stint as the command sergeant major at 1st and 187th in 3rd Brigade. I was on assignment to go towards a brigade at Fort Riley. And we just, we made the decision. My daughter had just started high school, and she was extremely happy at West Creek High School here in town. And we just decided that, divine providence, or whatever you want to call it, put us in a place where we're happy. And this was where we wanted to stay. So we decided to make this our home.
And so your final assignment was here at Campbell?
It was, yeah.
And you were as a command sergeant major?
Yes.
And then you called it quits at 22? Is that accurate?
22.
Is it exactly 22 or a little bit plus or minus?
Well, let's see. October would have been 22 and I got out in July. So 21 minus, 22 minus 3 months.
Yeah, 22.
Yeah, and I can tell you that to this day, there's many, many things that I miss about being in the Army and the things that the Army does. The mission, I was very proud to be a soldier. I was very proud of the soldiers I got to work with. But neither my wife nor I, who we've been married 33 years now, have any regrets about doing that. And I think both of our children, a lot of times you see, it presents challenges in the family. My wife was such a strong leader of our family that even though, I was gone a lot, our family was extremely close and really blessed to continue that to this day. Now, in the meantime, we did, my daughter lives in Chicago now. Her and her husband, who's a wonderful young man, moved to Chicago. And my son lives in Chattanooga, but we have very close relationships. We talk all the time.
Well, they have to forge their own path.
That's right.
Same as you do.
Right.
But it's still the core four of y'all.
Right.
You know, I mean, and that's what I found in the military is, you know, my kids are, 20 and 23 right now, but we're still extremely tight.
Yep.
You know, we have our arguments and whatnot, and just like anybody else, but we're still extremely tight. You know, daughter calls often, son, comes by often or calls often.
Yeah.
Wife and I are extremely, a couple. You
Yeah.
know, I
Yeah.
mean, we've been together since high school as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, our kids see that, and I think that leads them to want the same thing,
Yeah.
as I'm sure your kids are. But I would definitely say the military made us a strong, nuclear family. That even if you mess up, it's no big deal. We can figure a way out, or
Yeah.
figure
Yeah,
a
that's
path
right.
forward. Where I think some families don't have that. And
Yeah, I think because of the constant movement while they were growing up, they were used to making new friends and used to seeing the family as the stability. So, while they are in their own place and we're very happy for them. I was in Iraq my son's senior year in high school, and he had really thought about going to Austin Peay. And I love Austin Peay. It's a great school. But I said, son, I want you to kind of get away and
Go see the world.
Yeah, go see the world. So he went to University of Tennessee, Chattanooga, and fell in love with Chattanooga and fell in love with somebody in Chattanooga.
Chattanooga,
and so they married,
a cool
and
place.
they've been married. Let's see, 2019. So coming up on
6 years.
Yeah, 6 years, just over 6 years, in fact. And they have two daughters who are the light of my wife and I's life. We love them dearly, and they're thriving. My son is a firefighter in Chattanooga now.
Really?
And my daughter and her husband are thriving. They both work at universities in the Chicago area. My son-in-law is at Northwestern, and my daughter works for Rush University Medical Center. And they're both thriving there and happy. We always hope that that somehow they'll make their way a little further south. But if they're happy, we're happy.
Excellent.
And so that's where we're at. And we don't have any intent to. We have made Clarksville our home. Where we live just outside Clarksville, about 6 miles from downtown, near Palmyra.
Yep.
And we love living out there. It's a rural area, but we feel a little bit of space, spread our wings, but we're close enough to Clarksville to still be involved there.
Excellent.
I was so concerned, and I would give advice to veterans that don't rush into something when they do retire. It is wonderful when you make the Army a career. It is wonderful the benefits that come afterwards, from healthcare, retirement, that it really does give you more freedom to make decisions and choices than I think I realized at the time.
Right.
So I went to work the day after I signed out on terminal leave for retirement. I went to work for a defense contractor out of Chicago, actually. And what I think I wish I would have done is at least waited until after my terminal leave was complete.
Take a little break.
And just take a break and breathe for a second.
But we don't know how to.
That's
a
right.
lot of military, we
That's
don't
right.
know how to just be. Because I think we're, not to interrupt, but I think we're always afraid that if we stop, we
Yep.
won't start again.
Yep.
Because I've seen that a lot with some friends. They'll get out and they'll, like, I'm going to take, 6 months, and then they just never get started doing anything again.
Yeah. Yeah. And for me, so I started looking, as I was getting close to retirement, and I was so afraid that I would miss an opportunity that I kind of jumped on one of the first ones that was offered to me. And there's nothing wrong with the company. It was a company called Darley Defense out of Chicago. Great company to go and work for. But what I learned once I started, and then I still had that time, that there's plenty of opportunity. And there were other opportunities offered to me, but I had that feeling that, I had made a commitment to this company, so I needed to follow through with that commitment. I can tell you that I know veterans and retirees that they go into something like that and then they're not treated very well for whatever reason, but they stick with it for that same mindset. That they shouldn't.
Right.
In general, is my thought. If you're not happy, that you're not working for necessarily something bigger than yourself anymore. You're working, especially if you're working in the private sector, that private sector is about profit and making money.
Right.
So if you're not happy there, don't stay there. Find another opportunity and go to it. In my case, I stayed there for a couple of years. And I did make that decision eventually. I had that realization that, okay, I don't have to do this if I'm not extremely happy doing it. So an opportunity was offered to me to go to work for USAA in the Military Affairs Division, which was basically public relations with military units throughout Kentucky and Tennessee. That was another opportunity for growth.
Right.
And I saw a lot. In that particular job, I got to integrate a lot with especially ROTC detachments throughout Kentucky and Tennessee. So that was great. But there does come a point where I started to realize that, I'm not in the Army anymore. And I don't know if I want to make the military my life anymore. And at the same time...
That's a fair assessment.
Yeah. So 2012, when I retired, I had a partner named Cecil Stout, and we started talking about, I've been teaching scuba for years. I just did it at different dive shops around the places I was stationed.
Right.
We decided that this is something, he was a retired Marine, and we decided that, we could probably bring a world-class scuba diving shop to Clarksville. And with the population of Clarksville, and especially the large military population of guys that are looking for adventure, then we said, let's open a dive shop. So in 2013, we opened Waterdogs, and both of us had full-time jobs at the time. I was working with Darley and then USAA, and Cecil was working for the American Red Cross in disaster coordination. And then as the business kind of grew, Cecil was the first one to leave his job at the Red Cross and go full-time here. And then in 2014, we were growing to a point to where it required, more attention from us to do it. I mean, we could do it, but we wanted to do it right. So in 2014, I left USAA and came full-time to Waterdogs.
So let's talk about some of that early, hardship of building a business.
Okay.
Because, we're both from the military. We don't really know how to build a business. But I've noticed most veterans, especially veteran operated businesses, you just figure it out. A lot of trial and error, a lot of whiteboarding, a lot of, well, this worked in the military. Can I apply it here? That's what we've done with our business. We have whiteboards everywhere in our offices, and we talk through systems and processes and whatnot. So what'd that look like for starting a scuba diving business here in Clarksville? Because there's not one. You guys are it, correct?
Yeah, we are now. There was one other, and Cecil and I met at another place that had been here in town, but it was more kind of like a part-time thing, and didn't have a very large retail offerings, and what was happening is that people then, as we started diving more, we got into the community. Most of the diving community in Clarksville was traveling to Nashville to dive shops there.
Okay.
So we said, well, we think there's enough of a community that we can grow to offer that same experience that they're driving to get to, that we could do it here.
So you just kind of did a market analysis. And,
yeah. And what I didn't take advantage of, which I would have, is a lot of the things offered by the Small Business Association, VA transition programs, out of Fort Campbell. Right. Different things that are offered out there. And there's a bunch of nonprofits that have offerings, educational opportunities to help people along the way. To be honest, to a certain degree, because we had financial stability, both of us from retirement, we kind of just threw money at the problem, until it went away. And so we've
done the same.
Yeah, we probably utilized a lot more resources than we had. And so I would encourage somebody to take advantage of some of those business building opportunities, education, as you get into it. We started with a minimal amount of debt, which is a great thing. When I see businesses start, for us, we had a backstop of military retirement. When I see people start businesses without that military backstop, that is courageous. My father was a
Yeah.
small business owner his whole life,
Yeah.
and what he did, I just that is courageous to me, because I don't
I mean, that's a
know that I could do that.
That's a leap of faith
Yeah,
because you
yeah,
still got to provide for the family.
that is correct. And
And
my father was able to do that successfully in small business
yeah,
ownership. His entire adult life almost, and that would be while we could do that, that would still be a scary thing.
I agree because I mean, even though I have a military retirement, that there's months and whatnot where you're like, huh,
Yes, yes,
how's that going to be? But I still know, my base, housing expenses are covered that I don't have to worry about. It's anything else that, we've created or, that we want to do.
yeah,
And so, yeah, so the people that just take a leap of faith, as you say, and just start a business, I've got, mad respect for that
yeah,
because,
yeah,
I mean, you're going all in with no parachute,
yeah.
So, huh, okay.
So we
So,
we were lucky enough to have that, and we have always, had that. And we are in a seasonal business to a certain extent. People tend to dive a lot when the water's warm and it's warm outside,
right,
and they don't necessarily dive as much in the wintertime. So one of the things we started early in our business was to develop a year-round diving opportunity. And really, cold water diving is just different training and equipment.
right.
You can be just as successful, and in fact, there's a lot of benefits to diving during the wintertime when it is colder, but you got to be trained and equipped properly to do
People
that.
are probably just more like afraid of diving in cold water.
Well, it's just, there's a big difference between diving in 80-degree water and diving in
Yeah.
45-degree water. But when trained and equipped properly, then it can be just as much fun, just as enjoyable. And, at this point, as we've grown the business, we're heavily involved with local public safety dive teams in Tennessee. And, those guys, public safety divers, don't get to choose where they want to dive, right? They have to dive when they have to dive. So because we wanted to support that and be involved in that, search and recovery diving and forensic underwater investigation, things like that, then we developed the capability to do that. So that it has become a year-round business, truly more busy in the summertime.
Right.
But we there's never a time where it's like, well, what do we do now? There seems to be always something to do.
So, what's your biggest business failure and your biggest business success? That
Oh boy.
because I mean, we all have little minor things that
Yeah,
set us back,
yeah,
and then
for
we have
sure.
some wins. But what stands out is like, man, that was something we never should have done, and this is something that if I could replicate this on a larger scale, we would do more often. I mean, it may be community service, it may be getting involved with X organization or whatnot. But I mean, what's something you can look back on and say that was a bad idea, that was a great idea?
So I can tell you something that we narrowly missed.
Okay.
We have a VA education benefit program where basically retiring transition or active soldiers can use their VA education benefits to become professional divers.
Really?
Yeah, so like if you have the benefits you earn in your service,
Right.
you can use those we have non-college degree programs, basically trade schools that somebody can work through our Waterdogs Scuba and Safety Institute to become a professional diver. Something we
That's
narrowly avoided.
really interesting. I've
Yeah.
never heard of something like that
And we use
because my kids used it for for trade schools.
right.
My daughter got her esthetician license, and my son's working on his automotive license at TCAT, and they're using the benefits that I gave him. But I've never heard of something like that. That's awesome.
Yeah, and we have, and for the most part, our staff is about 95% veterans. Many of whom came to us through that education benefit program, and then as they developed into professional divers, then they have stayed on with us as our staff. And so, that's been a really good symbiotic relationship because we've been able to grow those divers into instructors, and then they in turn come to us, and then they grow other divers in the community or through the program as well. What we narrowly avoided is there are many places that do that, and they become a training center that happens to be scuba diving, and we never wanted to do that. So we kept our education benefit classes small with a personal touch because we did not want to be dependent on that, because that's not the intent of the program. Right. The intent of that program is to help veterans transition into another life. So that is something we narrowly avoided because it's easy to become over dependent on that, and we didn't want to do that. So we kept it small on purpose.
Okay.
Even though there may be an opportunity to make more income, we kept that small on purpose.
Okay.
Our biggest success, I think it's the wideness of the offerings we now have. So regular open water scuba diving is called recreational scuba diving. That's what you think about, when people go on vacation, they dive, or they just dive for fun. But there's also technical diving, which technical diving is deeper and longer and requires specialized training and equipment to do that type of diving beyond what would be considered, 95% of diving. And then there's also public safety diving, which is a whole different type of diving. People ask us all the time, do you train in the Cumberland River? No, not unless we have to. And because that's not intended for that type of diving, that's public safety diving. So growing into those realms to where we can not just train recreational divers and recreational dive professionals, but also be able to train technical divers and technical diving instructors, and then public safety divers and public safety diving instructors. I don't know if I would say it is financially a great growth, but it enables us to really reach out larger than just the recreational scuba community and be able to touch those and make lives better, because then in turn, for instance, when we have the incidents we've had this summer at Billy Dunlop Park and what have you, then we're able to train our local agencies to do that right, to try to bring closure to a family or to execute a successful rescue if that's possible. And a lot of times in those cases it's not. But bringing the incident to a close by the location of the victim or what have you, that's a really great thing. And then on technical diving, for instance, a recreational diving, kind of the stop depth is 130 feet deep. With technical diving, you can take people all the way to more than double that.
Oh, wow.
And so when you're talking about checking out shipwrecks or going way back in cave systems, where you can see stuff where 70% of this planet is water. But of that 70%, there's very, very little of that's ever been actually explored. And this just opens up a lot of opportunities by going into technical diving that they wouldn't be able to see otherwise, just staying at the recreational levels. So I think that biggest success, and again, not necessarily from a financial standpoint, but from
success that doesn't have to be monetary.
Right. What we feel great about is that a diver can come to us, or a potential diver can come to us, and no matter what direction in the diving world they want to go, we've got something that we can offer to them. And then they become part of our diving family, our diving community, and then we all grow together. So that's a great feeling, to develop the friendships and the relationships we've done along the way, that people are able to stay in that and have that common thread of diving amongst them, and always have somewhere to go. You're never done learning. You're never done training. There's always a different step you can take, and being able to offer that right here, because previously people would have to travel hundreds of miles away to do that, but we can do it right in Clarksville.
You mentioned cave diving, and that just sounds terrifying.
Well,
So I mean, you see all the videos, you read all the things that have happened in the past and whatnot. Like, that to me just doesn't sound fun at all. Like, have you had like some near misses or something in those instances that like?
Well, I don't want to scare anybody.
Well, no, not scary. I mean, come on. You can drive a car and go down 24, and you're like,
I think the key is the training. That's what's so important. It's easing into those more difficult environments. Right? You can't just jump into it. Somebody who's gone and gotten certified to be an open water diver, they're not ready to try something like cave diving or deep shipwreck diving. That takes time, practice, training, formal training in order to do it correctly. And when you do it and understand that what do they say? Rome wasn't built in a day. Understand
Right.
that your diving experience wasn't built in a day, and you take your time, then you can move into that when you're ready.
So
Kind of the
take
same
it as
as
baby steps and basically.
yeah. As you're diving and you increase your experience, what we encourage people to do is push their comfort zone gently.
Okay.
Meaning that take it just don't jump in over your head, right? Don't jump into something you're not ready to do. Slowly work your way there so that you have the prerequisite experience. And it's not for everybody. Diving in general is not for everybody. And very rarely have we had somebody come to us that has made that decision, okay, this is not for me. But it does happen, and we don't try to push people
Right.
beyond what they're comfortable with, right? And then, like cave diving specifically, it's not for everybody, but for those that enjoy it, it's like nothing else. And they tend to, the people that really take to it and enjoy it, that's the only kind of diving they want to do. And there's something about that. Speaking on a personal level, while I have done cave diving, it's not my favorite thing. I'm a big guy for shipwrecks and history.
That's pretty cool.
So I like to do shipwrecks in history. So it's not something I would be afraid to do, but it doesn't draw me like it does some people.
Okay.
And I think that would be the key. If you want to do that, you got to be prepared correctly in order to do that type of diving safely. So when we talk about the Waterdogs Scuba and Safety Institute, where somebody's training towards those professional levels or those technical levels or those public safety levels, it takes time, so it might be 2 years from the time someone starts to the time they get to the goal they want to be.
Right.
Because we do it very slowly, methodically, and we develop a diver into that experience.
Excellent. All right, so we've talked about the Sergeant Major. We've talked about the scuba. So tell me about Rich in the community, and what do you like to do in the community? What do you like to do just personal time? You and Shelly going to visit the grandkids? Tell me what you like to do.
So I will tell you, you hit it in number one. I would say people ask me what my hobbies are because I'm a professional scuba diver. So what are your hobbies? My hobby is my family, without a doubt. If there's anything I love to do and the time that we have to do it, it's concentrated on my wife and concentrated on our children and our grandchildren. So if we've got the time to get away, typically that's going to be getting away to go see the grandbabies or, visit with our children, things like that. So, and I do feel like I get enough adventure in my life as a scuba diver. There's enough doing that. And that does take me away from time to time from Clarksville. A lot of times we can do a lot of our diving here in Clarksville, but travel is part of our business.
Right.
Going to various islands in the Caribbean, going to the South Pacific to dive, things like that. So there's enough adventure in that where I don't feel like I'm missing anything, because all soldiers have that adrenaline bug that they got to go and do that. But, on a personal level, outside of Waterdogs, I do think community is extremely important. That's probably developed through being, through serving. You realize that you're just a small part of the larger thing, of something bigger than yourself. So I do like to support the community. Two things that are super important to me is veteran advocacy and supporting veterans, whatever direction they want to go, and then children. Because a lot of times children are put into situations where they don't have choices that adults do.
Okay.
Right? And in the case of a veteran, at some time that veteran made a choice to serve something bigger than itself. So I feel if I can give back to that community, not just veterans, but active duty, then I try to give back to that by the things that I support with time, talent, and treasure. Something that's really important to me is there's an initiative in Clarksville that's part of the Montgomery County 19th Judicial District. Judge King Goebel and Director David Smith run the Veterans Treatment Court here locally. I'm involved with them to support the efforts of those mentors. Excuse me. To support the efforts of those mentors.
Right.
I think what they do for active duty and veterans who made a bad choice, but it doesn't have to be a life.
Everybody makes mistakes.
Yeah, people make mistakes, and the Veterans Treatment Court gives people an opportunity to realize their mistakes and then correct themselves. So I think that's a great thing for veterans. When it comes to supporting children, a lot of times we'll have programs for youth here through like Clarksville Parks and Recreation, dealing with adaptive diving, maybe kids that have additional physical or mental challenges that they can't necessarily overcome.
Right.
So we like to teach what's called adaptive diving, because anybody can dive. Anybody can dive. So
really, using
that training to help support that and show people the underwater world, I think, is extremely important. We've trained folks here. We had a young man not too long ago that had been involved in a car accident where he was basically paralyzed from the neck down.
Oh, wow.
We were able to take him diving all the way down to the Caribbean. And obviously there's challenges.
Well, yeah.
And, that requires a lot of hands-on work.
Right.
But we were able to help him and, asking him, why do you want to do this? Because he couldn't propel himself.
Right.
He had to be helped. He said, man, I just want to live. I don't want my life to be over.
Yeah.
Just because of this car
I don't want
accident.
this to define me.
I want to live.
Right.
So if we can help people like that live, and we can help children that are challenged by something that, the hand of cards they were dealt, then we like to do that. And so, being involved in the community and helping those populations is really extremely important to the things that we do and being involved. And then, whenever I get the opportunity to advocate, in fact, this afternoon, I served a term on the Montgomery County Veteran Service Office committee for the Montgomery County government. I have returned to that committee, and I'll go to a meeting for that this afternoon. And that's the way we can help the Veteran Service Officer, Hector Santos, who was another Fort Campbell graduate, I guess you would say, a Fort Campbell long-term, but he's the director of that office. And being able to support him in the things that he does, because none of those organizations can do it without help from outside. And so whenever I become involved with a committee that I see that their desire is to help the community at large, then that motivates me, and I get passionate about helping that.
Okay.
And that's not always the case. Sometimes, there's human beings in every organization, and human beings are flawed, me more than most. And so some organizations that I've, served with or worked with, I did until I felt like I did all the good I could do and then stepped away. But those that I can continue to help, I stay on and I continue to help.
That's excellent. All right, so where do you see you, Waterdogs, and Shelly in 10 years? What does that look like?
Well, hopefully Shelly's still putting up with me, which I think she will be. It's been
I don't know. She's been 30 plus years.
She's a brave, patient woman.
I've got one of those at home.
Yeah. So, for that, I think Shelly and I will continue to grow in our love together. We'll continue to grow with our family. Seeing the things, near-term goal, we've just discussed going to Disney for the first time with our 5-year-old granddaughter.
You've never been to Disney?
We have been,
okay.
And our children have been, but my granddaughters have never been.
Go at Christmas.
Well, we're talking about next spring, because my granddaughter will start kindergarten next fall.
The only reason I say is we took our kids when we were at Benning, and we went middle of December, and they do something in the evening where they only let like 1,000 people in the park.
Yeah.
And it's a giant, Christmas parade, hot chocolates everywhere. Yeah. And you can ride all the rides and whatnot, but it's like 5 hours at night. And it was the best money we spent the whole time we were at Disney.
Yeah, so the crowds weren't overwhelming, because I know Christmas can be crazy at Disney.
Yeah, but if you do that additional little, park adventure, it's just at night, it's just for like 5 hours, and it's just 1,000 people in the park.
Yeah.
And so the kids loved it. Everybody's dressed up like festive costumes and whatnot.
Right.
Yeah, so that'll be cool. Taking them to Disney for the first time.
Yeah, yep. So that's the kind of the close term, but continuing to be there for with my son being a firefighter, his schedule's wacky.
Yeah.
My daughter-in-law in Chattanooga is an executive with the Erlinger Health System, so her schedule is she's extremely busy, and I'm very proud of her to see her the way she balances family and her career is pretty amazing. So my wife and I are always available to help when they need help. With my daughter and my son-in-law, we want to see them continue to thrive and be happy wherever that is. And they're extremely happy in Chicago. They actually live in Chicago, and they're both thriving there. So to continue to do them, that would be the most important thing. As far as Waterdogs, I don't know. I don't have any plans to leave here. I know that I won't do this forever. It is a physically trying thing, and I'm not getting any younger. But to be able for it to continue to be successful and to be available for this community and the diving community at large, that's really important. I got a wonderful partner. Cecil did retire in 2023 and passed his interest on to my current partner, Seabrook Fields, who was another retired veteran, two-time Purple Heart, grew up in Ranger Regiment, combat medic, and he brings his knowledge of medical stuff, which while we do teach scuba, we also have advanced life-saving solutions, which is where we do a lot of local CPR instruction and working with local industries to make sure their people know how to react in the case of an emergency, not just underwater, but above water. The medical knowledge that he brings to the business, not to mention just his general attitude, has been fantastic and a real shot in the arm. Because we've been around since 2013, so it's easy to get complacent.
Very much so.
So we try to grow that. Like Advanced Life-Saving Solutions, if you see all this stuff that is not scuba equipment behind you, Advanced Life-Saving Solutions, we're currently growing that into the emergency preparedness market.
Gotcha.
So that, people in these difficult times we have, people can feel like they're prepared and they have opportunities to help themselves be as prepared as possible.
Okay.
So we'd like to continue growing that and become a stopping point for people that are ready for whatever the world throws at them to do that. And then myself on a personal level, for any veteran out there that has not done, and I won't go into it a lot here, but if you Google Rudisill review of your education benefits, there was a point for folks that came in about the time you and I did where they transitioned their Montgomery GI Bill to the post 9/11 GI Bill. When you did that, you lost some benefit. You signed some over due to a decision at the Supreme Court. It is found in many cases that those veterans are being re-granted those lost benefits.
Really?
Myself, they're doing a Rudisill review. I actually was granted 13 months of benefit back, which I'm going to utilize to obtain a Master's of Business Administration at Austin Peay.
Excellent.
I'm going to start that next year. And eventually, long-term, kind of a gray goal, I would say, because it's not hard and fast because you got to adapt, is I would love to teach business classes in the College of Business at Austin Peay State University.
Excellent.
With an MBA. So that's kind of my little bit long-term goal.
Yeah.
Not do that. I'm too old to start looking at a tenure path.
Yeah.
But to do it as adjunct faculty and spread the knowledge.
Just teaching.
Yeah, business.
You're a natural teacher.
Yeah, and to spread the knowledge of those potential entrepreneurs out there that want to start their own business, to help them not make the same mistakes I made, perhaps, and grow that. I'd like to do that through the College of Business.
Excellent. All right, so give me a quick once-over. If somebody wants to learn to scuba dive, what do they do? Do they contact Waterdog and say, hey, I want to scuba dive?
Yeah.
And then what does that look like?
So it's really simple. We've got several different ways to do it. You can go on our website. You can go to diveclarksville.com. It'll take you to our website, which is waterdogs-scuba.com.
Okay.
You can sign up right online for the class, and it's got descriptions on there of the different classes. If someone wants to be a certified diver, which basically means a certified diver can dive without a dive professional with them, by just diving with another certified buddy. That's called open water diver.
Okay.
That would be the initial certification class.
So is that the most common? Probably.
Yeah, that's
okay.
that's the starting point for all diving. That's where somebody, learns how to scuba dive without supervision. So you sign up for open water diver either online, give us a call at the shop, or stop in is our favorite way because then we can talk people through the process.
Okay.
But they come in, and it's not a complicated process to become an open water diver. Typically, there's a little bit of e-learning, that they do at home in the convenience, whenever they have the time to do it. And then typically over the course of 2 weekends, with the first weekend being Saturday and Sunday, we spend that in the classroom reviewing the e-learning and adding to that, and then going to the pool, which I have to give a shout out to the in the wintertime we use the Hillcrest YMCA.
Okay.
And those guys are fantastic to work with, and it's just a great place. If you haven't been in the Hillcrest YMCA, they have great offerings for anybody, and it's very affordable for people to be members there.
Yes.
And they have a great pool, and they give us great support, and we try to return the favor.
Right.
So we do our pool training there during the wintertime. Equally as great in the summertime, we use the pools of the Clarksville Parks and Recreation outdoor pools.
Okay.
And those guys have been great as well. And we always try to give back to that community, to Clarksville, the city of Clarksville, when we can, through sponsorships or like something we started this year, the swim league. Clarksville Parks and Recreation is a swim league. So we joined on to be the title sponsor for us because they're very good to us, and we want to return that favor and be good to them. So again, that going back Saturday and Sunday, classroom and pool, and then a follow-on weekend where we go to one of several local scuba diving sites.
Okay.
And these places, I say they're scuba diving sites because they're natural bodies of water, like Rock Quarry. We use one that's up in Clarksville, up in Hopkinville, called Penny Roll Scuba Center. That the water there, this rock quarry, has been developed strictly for scuba diving. No swimming, no partying, nothing like that. It's a controlled environment, but it is outdoors and with all kinds of cool stuff to see underwater. And we'll do our certification dives at a place like that. Most commonly, that's what we use. But there's another in southern Illinois. There's another called Scuba Dive 65. That's right on the Tennessee-Alabama border.
Okay.
So we take divers there to finish their certification class.
Okay. So as far as an investment, what's somebody looking like for an investment to do this?
Yeah.
I mean, mask, fins.
So initial investment to become a certified scuba diver, an open water diver, the course itself costs $600.
Okay.
That covers everything except entry to the dive park. Wherever we end up going, they pay the entry fee there when they go. And they are responsible for providing just mask, fins, snorkel, and then scuba boots.
Okay.
That's all they have to. And that usually runs about, depending upon the selection made, $250.
Okay.
So you're looking at, well under $1,000 to become a certified scuba diver. Yeah, and then you can grow from there. Of course, as you continue to grow, you want to accumulate your own equipment. And this is life support equipment, so it's not bargain basement priced.
Right.
However, if you compare it to other activities like hunting, cars, guns, things that veterans a lot of time, or just community members in general, get into, other hobbies, it's on the cheaper side of that, the investment you have to make from that. And what's great about having the facility we have here, we can fully support everything that someone needs to do right here in Clarksville, whether it be we have retail offers that can purchase all their equipment here. We can service all their equipment here.
Okay.
We can rent all the equipment they need here while they're growing their own personal kit.
Right.
They can rent anything they need here to do that.
Excellent. Well, excellent. That's not. I know I told you I'm gonna do it. I just need to do it.
Yeah.
I can't do it during college football.
No, I got you.
No weddings, no nothing. All that stuff with college football.
Yep.
So I'm gonna put you on the spot. One last question. This is mainly for me.
Okay.
If you could pick 3 people for me to reach out to interview next, who would they be?
Oh my goodness.
I asked Kimberly Wiggins the same question. She gave me some great ideas. I asked Julie Runyon. She gave me some great ideas. Who would
Has anybody recommended Danielle Stack?
No.
And I will tell you, this is why. Danielle Stack has perseverance like you would not believe.
Okay.
And when she sees a challenge, she copes with that challenge. She figures out a way, and she puts her nose back down to the grindstone and goes.
Okay.
And she is bound for success. I think she's a wonderful person. I would interview her just because of the work she puts in.
Okay.
Of course, I would recommend my wife.
Okay.
But the one thing that Shelley does not like doing is being in front of a crowd or on camera, so she probably wouldn't do that. But she inspires me daily. She's also in the real estate field, and the relationship the way she does business over the past 12 years, the attention and the relationship she developed with her clients. And I believe that you have this same mindset. It is a relationship.
It's 100% relationship.
Yeah, that's.
If it's transactional, it's wrong.
Yeah, but I don't think you'll get her on camera. I'll tell you that. Oh man, I should have been ready for that question. I looked at the rest of them. Yeah,
I didn't put it on there.
Okay. No wonder I didn't see it. I think Judge Goebel and David Smith at the Veterans Treatment Court do amazing things, serving the veteran community that hasn't made the right decision. They've made a bad decision, and they're trying to make their life better by getting better. The mentorship in that program, I would look at them. I think they are inspiring, to say the least.
I may use you for a connection into.
Yeah, I'd be happy to.
Okay. Well, excellent.
Yeah, and I mean, as I'm going there, it's not a matter of I can't think of enough people you'd want to talk to. I can't. It's hard to decide who.
Yeah.
But those immediately come to mind as inspirational.
Excellent. Well, I appreciate it.
Yep. No problem.
I appreciate you taking the time. I really do.
Robert, you're my friend, and I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
You know, ever since we met the very first time at Tennessee Valley Brewing Company.
Yeah.
For Joe Padula's trivia.
Yeah.
And you were like the norm. You know, whenever you come in there, like, Sergeant Major.
Yeah, that's Joe.
Exactly.
And that would, you say that, man, and he was one of the ones I was thinking about, Joe Padula, man. And he's got an interesting story if you've never spoke to him about it.
We've talked several times, not like anything like this or whatnot, just, really kind of in passing and whatnot. Maria Haycraft recommended him as well.
Yeah, I would, the Joe Padula show is great.
Yep, I'm an avid listener.
And I would talk to him. His story, just to hear his story about where he was in New York during 9/11, is pretty inspirational and pretty amazing.
Okay.
And that's what caused him to join the Army and do what he did. He's going to talk to you about 2nd Brigade nonstop.
Yeah.
You already know that, right? Yeah. You've already heard that. But there's nothing wrong with that. He's proud of his time in service, so he'd be a good one to talk to. I enjoy that. My wife and I were talking about that this morning, about knowing you actually from Tennessee Valley Brewing and the Joe Padula trivia.
Yeah, it sucks about that. But.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate it. I sincerely do.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for the opportunity.
Yep.